Beautiful, isn't it? But do you know where all of this came from? In the Earth itself? Everything? Let me answer that question by starting at the very beginning, the Big Bang. It all started roughly 13.7 billion years ago, when the universe was an immensely small and dense point of space. Suddenly, for an unknown reason, the point went through a process called inflation. To picture this, imagine this balloon as the universe. When I start pumping the balloon, it inflates and rapidly increases its size, just like the universe did during inflation. When inflation ended after 10 to the power of -33 seconds, the universe inflated to a much bigger size. Since inflation is really hard to draw to scale, it would help to imagine a tennis ball inflating to a size of 90 billion light years across in a blink of an eye. That's how powerful inflation was. Mind-blowing, isn't it? After inflation ended, the universe continued to expand, but at a much slower rate. Meanwhile, space was extremely hot. Particles that make up atoms, protons, neutrons, and electrons, couldn't bind together to form those atoms because it was too hot. Free electrons that were flying around space scattered light, preventing it from passing through space freely. Fear not, the universe hit a big milestone at around 380,000 years after inflation. This was the era of recombination. The universe was now bigger than any time before that, and the temperature cooled down to 3000 degrees Kelvin. This temperature was just right for protons and neutrons to combine with electrons, forming the first atoms, hydrogen and helium. As a result, since electrons were now bound in atoms, light can freely move through space. And there's more. Now that they were atoms, stars could be created. And in fact, the process was quite simple. Over millions of years, the pressure of gravity would clump hydrogen gas very densely together. Due to gravity's extreme inward pressure, the center of the gas cloud would heat up and form a protostar, a hot core of a newly born star. Inside the hot core of a star, hydrogen atoms fuse into helium, releasing energy. As a result, an outward pressure is created, which prevents gravity's inward pressure from collapsing the star. Eventually, a star runs out of fuel and cannot produce enough energy. When this happens, the star collapses because gravity wins over the star's outward pressure. Sometimes when a star collapses, it produces an enormous explosion known as a supernova. Supernova that happened a long time ago released heavy elements that later became the building blocks of planets, like Earth and everything on it, including us. So to answer our big question, where did everything come from? The answer is the Big Bang, a theory explaining that everything began at one point of space, which then expanded to the universe that we live in today.